to identify. Okay. So here are some strategies that kind of work. So some of these are going to feel super awkward. So becoming a two-way mirror for your child. And what I mean is, so like, I see you crying. Do you feel sad that grandma left? Or you're bouncing in your high chair. Looks like you're so excited for your breakfast. So really describing kind of what it is and what you see. So you are describing to them what you see. Because sometimes we don't even know what we do. One of the girls that we had at Boys Town, one of the times she started to kind of bounce her knee. And I said, you know, honey, I see that you're starting to get frustrated. And she said, well, I don't think I am. Okay, well, right now you're kind of bouncing your knee, and usually that starts. And then the next step, and she said, well, what comes next? I said, well, then you start running your hands through your hair. And she kind of said, well, you know, you're such a stalker. How do you know that? And then later something happened and she got really frustrated and her hands were kind of in her hair. And she said, oh my gosh, you're right. That is exactly what I do. So it's just helping to identify, what am I doing? What does my face look like? Or, I mean, maybe we've had somebody say, you look really mad. Oh, no, I'm really not. I was thinking, or I was whatever, I was zoning out. So it's important to be able to tell our kids what we see. So the other thing that really helps, and again, feels really awkward, especially if you're not a talker, is to just model expressing your feelings and emotions and your reactions. So explaining something like, oh, today I was so frustrated. I had a list of things I wanted to do, but when I took the car to get the oil changed, it took so long, I didn't get to do some of the other things. It wasn't anyone's fault, but I felt really grumpy. Because sometimes our kids have no idea what's going on in their parents' head, and suddenly they're grumpy, and they don't even know why they're grumpy, or they don't know, oh, well, yeah, it's because this happened, and then this happened, and this happened. And the better job we do at modeling that and making that normal to talk about, it just kind of becomes part of their vocabulary too. So giving your children the language for the feeling is also important. So, oh no, your ice cream fell and now it's dirty. You're so disappointed you can't eat it anymore. Instead of just, oh, you're mad. To pick something like you're disappointed, you're, you know, but again, connecting what happened with the feeling. So even when they're just little teeny tiny, you know, you missed grandma and grandpa so much, your big smile tells me you're so excited to see them again. So again, just telling them what you see. So when it comes to behaviors, a lot of issues come from children not knowing how to express their feelings. So the more information you can connect to how they're feeling and their reaction, the better job they'll do telling you how they feel in the future. So, I mean, again, and I didn't grow up in Wyoming. I grew up in North Dakota. And I grew up Norwegian in North Dakota, which obviously we are always fine. I mean, it truly, there could be a tornado through the yard. All the cows ran away, the dog dies, and everything else happens. And you say, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. So some people I think are really, really good at sharing and expressing their feelings. For some of the rest of us, it's work to identify it and then express it. That feels like kind of daunting. So I totally get it if you think that's crazy. So again, just like your child will copy how you do everything. I mean, I think we all have seen kids who do something and you go, oh yeah, that's how I do it. Or their parents will say, I know exactly how you quiet everyone down in class because my child was playing school and they said, you know, if you can hear me, clap 3 times. So I bet you do that. And teachers think, yep, that's exactly what I do. So again, kids copy us. So the better job we do at expressing ourselves, the better job they will do. Using a variety of words to describe feelings. This was just one little wheel that I found, and one little idea, but being able to, I mean, words are so fun. They just are. I mean, it's, you look nice today is fine, but oh, you look lovely today is a lot more fun. So, you know, I was today, you know, I'm not just happy, I'm optimistic. And then to explain, this is what, you know, this means, this is how it works. Because again, we're always trying to build vocabulary. Because if they hear it, or, you know, if we express it to them, then when they encounter it, when they're reading, or when it's time to write and they have to write something, you know, if their teacher says, I don't want a 5-cent word, I want a 25-cent word. Well, if the only words they know are mad, sad, happy, those are not going to get them very far. So helping them to really understand, like, there's a really cool poster that has lots of different faces and emotions, that sometimes if they don't know what they're feeling, it's easy to find the face and go, yep, that's how I feel. Okay, so talking about behavior can feel really awkward. One thing that we found, because our kids grew up at Boys Town, that once you normalize talking about it, it's actually not that uncomfortable if you're in public or you have to address it somewhere else. It's just the, oh, well, I don't know what to do now. So what should I do? Now I'm in public, I'm at the grocery store. And now the pressure of everyone's looking at me, or, you know, as the parent not knowing how to handle it, or in your classroom. Honestly, that then goes into our filter. So now I'm feeling embarrassed. I'm feeling like everyone's looking at me. So I'm starting to get impatient and I'm starting to get cranky. And it's really because my kid wants to touch everything in the grocery store. And so then I snap because they wanted to touch the orange. And then they throw a fit and it's just, it can get ugly. So one really great strategy is to just use picture books. So talk about, you know, maybe not even the story, maybe don't read the story, but look at those pictures and, you know, oh my goodness, it looks like little llama's throwing things out of the cart. Look at his face. How do you think he's feeling? And see, you know, because I think it's important that we as adults look at that and we know how we think it looks, but it's good to know, like, do our kids look at that and go, oh, he looks hungry. Oh, well, I never would have thought he looked hungry. Or, you know, he wants his shoes, or whatever it is. That gives us a little window into their little brains too. Asking, what do you think will happen? You know, what do you think his mama will do? And again, you know, taking a picture and asking, what do you think this person feels? What do you think's inside that box? You know, what do you think could fit in that box? Oh, look, Goose is holding something that's long and skinny. What could we find that's long and skinny in our house? So really just lots and lots of vocabulary and talking about, you know, this looks like it's a birthday party. Doesn't look like Franklin has a present. So whose birthday do you think it is? Do you think he's happy that his friends have presents? You know, and again, all of those vocabulary words. And this picture actually I picked because I don't think it's a great picture, because nobody looks happy. in this picture to me. It looks like Fox is scared. It looks to me like the beaver is trying to take the present away from Franklin. So I think being willing to look at the picture and let go of what the words on the page say, because actually in this book, Franklin's friends throw him a surprise party and he's so happy. That's not what this picture says to me. So again, connecting the behavior to the feeling. So, you felt excited about going to the park and you unbuckled your car seat. So that's the behavior, was the unbuckling of the car seat. The feeling was they were excited. Maybe your child wasn't trying to be disobedient. Maybe your child wasn't trying to be unsafe. But it's important for you to say that wasn't safe so that they know, again, that's that direct teaching of why can't you do that? Well, it's not safe. You felt angry that you had to take a nap, so you threw all your blankets out of your bed. Well, you felt angry. And so what did you do? And also, just acknowledging kids and acknowledging their feelings sometimes really helps. So things like, in the middle of a tantrum or when they're really angry, to say, wow, I can see that you have really big feelings about this. You don't want to take a nap. And sometimes even just knowing, hey, they heard me. Like, okay. And honestly, this happened just the other day at school when I was teaching. One of the students I work with wasn't following the rules. So the next recess, he didn't get to play the game that he was playing earlier. The teacher had told him, okay, next recess you can play, but you don't get to play this game. And so right before recess, I gave him the reminder, okay, you're going to have to play something different. And he kind of lost it. I mean, screamed at me, you're making me so mad. And I just said, I can see that you're really upset and you really wanted to play this. I understand that you wanted to play this. But right now, the rule is today, because you didn't follow the rules at lunch recess, you're going to have to find something different to do now. Okay. You know what? I'll take a crabby okay. And he went out and he did beautifully. So sometimes truly they know that they're angry. So for you to say, I can see how angry you are, you're not reminding them. You're not fueling their fire. So a lot of times just setting really clear expectations for your child and then following up. So we're going to go to the grocery store. When we're there, stay with me and hold on to the cart so I know where you are. And then as you're leaving, hey, you stayed with me the whole time when we were at the store. Thank you. Because it's really, really hard if you just say, okay, we're going to the store, you need to be good. What does that even mean? Or you did a great job. Well, we were at the store for 15 minutes or 30 minutes, and I touched the grapes. I pushed the cart sometimes. I ran over and smelled the flowers. I saw somebody and told them they looked pretty. I mean, honestly, kids do a lot of things in 30 minutes, and to just say you did a great job doesn't tell them exactly what they did. So being as specific as you can about what your expectations are and then what they did well will really help in the future to understand what the expectations are again. This is so true. I can't really stress this enough. Listening fatigue is real. And one way that especially littler kids will let us know that they need a break is to take out, or be honest, throw their hearing aids, hopefully not hide them, but that happens too. And again, it's okay to do that, but then reflect back and say, you know what? I can see you're really tired. I'm going to set the timer for 2 minutes. and you can have 2 minutes of quiet, and then we'll put them back in. To acknowledge how your child's feeling, to let them know, oh, so maybe next time I just have to ask, can I take my hearing aids out? Or say, I'm really tired, instead of throwing the hearing aids or instead of ripping them out of their ears. I know it was huge for me the very first time that I went to the Hands and Voices leadership conference. I happened to be sitting next to, I mean, she's older than I am, which is really old. And she wore hearing aids, and we were talking, and she said, oh, I think, what are you going to do tonight? And she said, honestly, she said, some of my friends are going out for dinner. I'm going back to my room and I'm taking my hearing aids off and I'm just going to relax. And I said, you take your hearing aids off when you go back to your room? And she said, oh my goodness, yes. She said, sometimes at the end of a day, she said, I'll just take my hearing aids off for like an hour. And then when my family, when it's time for dinner, I'll put my hearing aids back on. And that was the first time that anybody had really acknowledged that it was okay to let my daughter take her hearing aids out, to acknowledge that she was tired, and to not fight that battle all the time. And when she was kind of later elementary, I asked her, why do you take your hearing aids out after school? And she said, you know how when you come home and you take your shoes off and it feels like, oh, I can relax. And I said, yeah. And she said, it's the exact same way when I take my hearing aids out. So I think remembering that if you're 2 or you're 3 or even 5 or 6, or even sometimes 5th grade, 6th grade, sometimes they can't articulate what it is. Because especially if being tired of hearing and listening all day long is so normal, they don't know. I mean, our kids don't always know this is what it is my brain is tired. So teaching them the strategies of, all right, let's find a break in your day. Even if it's 2 minutes, look at how much better you feel after a 2-minute break, and then put the hearing aids back in. So if you notice it's happening a lot more frequently, you can always start a timer and say, we're going to keep your hearing aids in for 15 minutes, then take them out for a minute. And again, the expectation is you're acknowledging how they're feeling, but then you're also setting the expectation of, we're leaving them in, then we'll take them out, so that it's not a power struggle, and that you can be more of a team than the adversary, really, truly. Because there are so many times in my daughter's life with her hearing loss that it doesn't always feel like we're on the same team. And so finding a way to be on the same team is a gift. So this is huge. Find a consequence that works, and maybe it isn't a timeout, to be really honest. The purpose of a timeout is just to redirect a child's behavior. So sometimes you can achieve the same goal with deep breaths or counting to 5 and 10, like 5 or 10, and then fixing the behavior. So the big piece is fixing the behavior. So if your child dumps something, she needs to clean it up. If she rips something, he needs to tape it back together. If you hurt somebody, you need to apologize. I mean, make the consequence fit your life too. Okay. So this is really hard sometimes, to remember that there are no bad emotions, and that you're finding a consequence for the behavior, not the emotion. So it is absolutely okay to feel angry. I think sometimes we think it's not okay to be angry. It's okay to be angry, but we need to figure out how to be angry, what to do. Do we scream into a pillow? Do we march with really big feet? Do we do 10 jumping jacks? I mean, what is it? Do you turn music on and dance silly? What is it that helps your children to express their emotions, but also to feel them, to feel every emotion? So angry is just as valid as happy. Sad is just as important to feel as over the moon excited. And again, when we go back to, if you model it, it becomes less scary to feel some of those feelings that we don't like to feel. But if they just become feelings, our kids feel safer with them and feel safer in their bodies. So just final encouragement when it comes to behavior. Every day has some good in it. So I remember when we first moved to Boys Town, somebody said that a broken clock is right twice a day. And you can always find the good in your day, even on days that are so incredibly hard. And I would encourage you that if your child typically screams and throws things when he becomes upset, and this time he only screamed, hey, nice job using self-control. You didn't throw anything. And you know what? Will they pick something up and throw it just to show you? Yep. But that's where you can say, I can see you're really, really upset and you want me to know how angry you are. So that is all I have. Do you guys have questions? I think you all have a copy of my PowerPoint. So you have my email address. I'm going to stop sharing because I can't see anybody. So, does anybody have any questions? I know I talked way too long, but anything? I know there were a couple questions from earlier.
Betsy?
Yes.
This is Kim. I just wanted to thank you for talking a little bit about listening fatigue. I really appreciate that. And also that, remember, there are no bad emotions. Like anger is a real emotion because we kind of forget that sometimes. It's okay. And to find a consequence for the behavior, but not the emotion. Because I think that's really important for us. And it's hard as parents to remember. It's the behavior, not necessarily the emotions sometimes with our kids. Thank you for sharing that.
I'd like to thank you, Betsy, for the term. I think you named it polite non-compliance. I can't remember what you termed it, but I'm going to steal it.
Okay.
What was it exactly? You can send it to me later, but I'm going to use it in my own work. So, personally, thank you.
Yeah, Betsy, there was a question that was asked on one of our forums. One of those questions was, if a child expresses disinterest in learning ASL, how do you suggest navigating that? And what if they express interest later in life, say at age 10 or 15? What resources are available?
So, you know, there are certain things that you can't force a kid to do. You can't really force them to eat. Can't really force them. Potty training has really nearly broke me. But what I have seen just in my own daughter is she was very disinterested in learning ASL. Didn't even want to talk about it really. She didn't need to learn sign language. In the last year, she has decided she wants to learn sign language. And actually it's probably going to go into her IEP for next year because it matters to her. So I would say, I mean, if it's later, great. I mean, there's no too late to learn sign language. I was talking to April's dad, who is way funny and so much fun. But I mean, he was old, like 20s, April, when he learned sign language.
He was 21 when he learned sign
Yeah.
language.
So, I mean, 10 isn't really that old if you think about it. So that's my answer. I think there was another one, Tiff, wasn't there?
He was, and this participant's not here tonight, but
Okay.
I think it's a great question still. I'd love some ideas on how to encourage a teen who's feeling alienated and alone all of a sudden with our last move. Any thoughts on that?
I think it's more real than we maybe realize that that it can be lonely to have a hearing loss. Also, I think the last couple of years have been really, really hard on our kids with hearing losses. I think that hearing their friends, understanding their friends when they're wearing masks, it has taken listening fatigue to a whole new level. And I think the loneliness, not just our kids, but honestly, I mean, look at everybody struggled, really. But I think it's even more so because for 2 years, they almost got used to taking themselves out of the conversation, taking themselves out of the equation. So learning how to put themselves back in is just like the little ones. It's direct teaching. It's okay, what are some things you like to do? Who would you like to hang out with? What would you like to do? What can we do in this area? And oh, okay, you want to learn how to make mochi. Well, nobody here knows how to do that, but I can find an online class for you. So I think having those conversations, but again, it's all about direct teaching. So, anybody else?
I guess I have a quick question. I know Ella in particular struggles with listening fatigue, and she gets really frustrated and angry and upset. Do you have any recommendations on, how to maybe teach her about recognizing that?
Honestly, Kristen, I think that's so hard. I would say until this year, Maisie fought against anytime we would say, it's a lot more work for you. Your brain is working harder. She felt like that was a crutch. She felt like that was an excuse because she'd never known anything different, So it's like if you say, well, you're tired, why don't we, it could just be hey, let's see what happens. I notice you're really frustrated right now, Ella. Can we see what would happen if we just had quiet for 3 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever works for you? And then to kind of look back on it when she's ready to say, okay, here's what I saw. Do you think I'm right? And she might say no for the next 10 years. And then suddenly, honestly, as a 15-year-old, they write a letter to a second grader because their deaf, hard of hearing teacher forces them to. And it says things like, we get more tired than everybody else does. Listening is really hard sometimes. And you go, all that talking I've done, it made its way in. So I would just do more reflecting back, like stopping it and doing more of the, here's what I see, Ella. Let's see if it works. And then she can tell you, no, I don't think that was it. But really telling her, this is what I see it building. And then when she puts it, her implant back on, to say, how did that feel to take a break? Did that feel good? Or does it feel scary? To feel like I know she has one good ear, but does it feel scary to not know what's happening around? It might have to be okay, we're all going to take a break right now, so that she doesn't feel like, okay, the minute I do this, I'm going to miss out on the fun. I don't know.
Thank you. I think that sounds really doable.
Okay, good. So it's 7:58, and I know we said it would only, oh. I don't know what just happened. I apologize. You all
Oh,
disappeared. I know we said we were only going till 8. So,
mhm. Well,
but you all have my
Betsy,
email address.
Betsy, we would like to thank you so much for coming in and sharing your expertise. It's just such valuable information. We just really appreciate your everything that you've had to offer tonight. I do have a couple comments in the chat that it says Ashley Salmon had to get off, but she said that she appreciates this training. We're definitely in the midst of behavioral battles with my kids, and this was very helpful. Thank you so much. So she really did. And Ruth Anna Rudin made a comment to Kristen about maybe providing a quiet activity like then, like coloring. I don't know if you saw that or not, Kristen, but just wanted to point it out. But thank you guys all so much for joining tonight. It's nice to meet everybody and have some new faces. And I hope everybody learned something to take back home. And I'm sorry we didn't say in the beginning, but we wanted to record this whole session so that it can then be housed on our Hands and Voices YouTube channel. So we will get the majority of your training, Betsy. I'm so sorry. But at least we can share this with other families in the future. So it's Tiffany, do you know the exact name of our YouTube channel?
It should be the title of our chapter, Wyoming Families for Hands and Voices. I can definitely send the link out to everybody by email.
Okay. That would be great. That'd be great.
And yeah, I am just an email away. Kristen, I'm just a couple blocks away from you. So, but really, truly, this is really what makes my heart beat faster and makes my brain work, is making life easier for parents and for the kids. So.
Yes.
Well, we're lucky to have you as a resource in Wyoming. That's for darn sure. And a friend too, because you're a great person. I enjoy you.
We're glad to have you as part of our team.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me share.
So, yeah. So in April, Christy Fritz and Billy Wortham will be our presenters for that session. So
I'll be back. I'll be here.
The April and May. So we're looking forward to seeing you, Christy.
You can't get rid of me.
She's everywhere.
Everywhere.
Oh.
Thanks,
Wow.
Betsy. That was great.
Thank you guys. Thanks to everybody.
Yes.
Have a good night.
thank you. It's good to meet you, April.
It's good to meet you,
April's dad is hilarious.
Oh.
I mean, I'll be honest. Sometimes I talk and I think, is anybody gonna take? Oh, look at that! He even did what I told him to do.
Those two were so funny during the thing in Casper. It was hilarious. My dad even looked at me and goes, "Is she being serious right now?" I'm like, "Oh yes, don't even. You will not win."
He was in the little art thing, and I'm like, "Get going." Oh, I'm not going to. Oh, that's not a choice. And he did it. I mean, had he refused one more time, I would have been like, okay, well, all right. But he didn't, and I thought, what?
Well, he only got half of it done, and then he hid it from you.
Oh, I know.
And then as we left, he goes, "Don't tell her." I was like, okay.
Well, you can tell him now that I know. And the next time I'm in Cheyenne, watch out. Hunt him down when he's in Story.
Oh man. Well, it was nice meeting you guys, and thank you guys for hosting this.
Yes, we hope you'll
Yes.
join us again.
Oh,
Yes,
definitely.
It was very
fun to
nice
meet
to
you,
meet
April.
you.
I was gonna say, we don't have that much of a community here, so it's nice to be able to help out whenever I can.
Yeah.
It is nice. Well, that, I mean, it's like we have these little pockets, it seems like, in all these different communities in Wyoming. So it's nice to meet new faces and, like you said,
Yes,
support
yes.
one another.
Well, you guys have a good evening.
All right.
right.
Thanks.
See you,
You
April.
too. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Ashley, I saw that you were back. That
We all
must mean,
saw you.
bedtime went really well.
It is going great.
Oh, great.
Yes, but thank you so I'm sorry it's dark in here.
Oh.
I understand.
No, but that was really good. I loved it.
Good, I'm glad. And where are you? Where do you live, Ashley?
I'm in Gillette.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And how old are your kids?
I have 7 and 1.
Okay.
Yes, and our 7-year-old. Woo, love him.
Oh, I didn't realize they were that far apart.
Yeah, they are about just about 7 years. But yeah, he is testing every single angle he can possibly do, and he's not that's not his personality. It's all new. So it's just been really hard.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, and that, I mean, Ashley, that too tells you something. I mean, if it's not his personality, to be able to say, wow, like you are having really big feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, do you have any idea what's going on? Like, and what happened at school today is such a hard question. But they
Yes,
spend so much time at school
well,
that
it's so broad.
it is. Mhm.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of like really just trying to like we've taken away some of his devices and things to just try and get him to settle like and like want to talk to us at night. And we finally did get out. I think we're dealing with a bullying situation unfortunately at school, but it's taken a long time to finally get that out of him.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that, Ashley.
Yeah, it
And
stinks, but
it does. Mhm. But I think also I mean, he's 7 and letting him know now, hey, wait, mom and dad are here. Like
yeah.
we are in this together. And I think kids need to hear that a lot more than we realize that, hey, we are in this together and we are on your team. And what would you like me to do?
Yeah.
Even at 7, sometimes kids know, well, can you call my teacher or don't call my teacher?
Yeah.
But then, okay, if you don't want me to call your teacher, what are some things that might make it better at school? And to really kind of ask some of those questions.
Yeah.
But also asking, what would you like? Would you like me to call your teacher? Would you like,
Yeah.
to have a different friend over? Is there someone that you really like hanging out with at school, but you don't get a chance to because you're in a different class this year?
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure.
All those
No,
things
I really liked a lot of your phrases because Cody and I've been trying to figure out how to, because I mean, we're I would say the classic, what the heck are you doing? Why are you doing that? And it's taking a lot of practice to try to be and like kind of having each other's back and be like, hey, you're kind of raising your voice. Calm
Mhm.
down, just talk to him. So yeah, no,
Yep.
I just told him, I was like, man, you need to get in here.
Yeah,
So,
it is. And it is so awkward at first. It is
yeah.
so incredibly awkward. And one thing that we had to do in training for Boys Town that made it
Uh-huh.
a little like to practice it is if you turn any TV show on and mute it and
Uh-huh.
describe what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Wow, look at, his face is getting all scrunched up and it's turning red and he's
Yeah.
like opening and closing his hands and all those things that you start paying attention to what's happening in his body before he ever loses it.
Okay.
That sometimes helps because a lot of times kids will do stuff that they don't
Mhm.
realize they're doing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, lately it's been he just kind of like he's like totally fine and then just huge explosions of just like it's just totally insane. Like he's just totally chill. And then we do something to set it off, like, no, we're done with the game tonight or something along those lines. And then it goes straight into this is not fair and just flat screaming. And I'm just like, whoa,
Yep.
holy moly.
and fair is such a hard thing for kids,
Yeah.
and empathy goes a long way. Like you'd be surprised how far saying, I understand you don't
Mhm.
like that you have to put this away. I
Right.
understand you don't feel that it's fair. And all of the sudden, now you're on the same team again.
Mhm.
Even though you took his device away, even though you're still kind of the bad guy, to walk through, I understand it doesn't feel fair. Um, and this is why we have to do it. And sometimes I don't want to go to bed either. I would much rather stay up and watch a movie or build a fire in the backyard and or go camping or pick something, that you enjoy.
Mhm.
But I have to take care of my body too. And if I don't sleep, then, during the daytime, maybe I get a headache or I'm not as patient with you guys as I want to be. I'm not the mom that I want to be. So sometimes we have to let our bodies sleep, even
Yeah.
though we would rather do way more fun things.
Yes.
So,
And then like what do you think about so I've kind of been waiting for this moment. I mean, I don't know when I'm sure it's different for every kid, but like when they start realizing that they're maybe different a little bit, he's starting to recognize that his ears set him apart from others. And I know that's been causing a little bit of I want to call it anxiety. It's kind of what it seems like it is to me. Because he'll tell me that he's frustrated that he just can't be like everyone, says it in 7-year-old language. And
yep.
that's been really hard because I try to be really understanding, be like, well, we say our usual, God made you this way because it's just this is who you are and you're special and we love you this way. But it's just, it seems like it's kind of becoming like I kind of wish I wasn't this way type of deal.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand that it would be a lot easier to not have
Mhm.
to wear hearing aids or, to really, again, I get it. Sometimes it helps to point out, that kid wears glasses. It's kind of the same.
Mhm.
But honestly, what makes the biggest difference, I think, is going to like the family fun activities, going to
Mhm.
Y High and seeing all of a sudden you're not the only one. There's a
Yeah.
whole room full of kids. And instead of feeling alone, you go, ooh, I like that ear mold. That's a color I never thought about. I like the back of that hearing aid. It's bright green. Mine is boring brown. Why is mine brown? Could I have a bright green one? And those are the kinds of conversations. And then sometimes, I don't know, Kim, Wendy, sometimes you just buckle up and ride it out.
Yeah.
I mean,
For sure.
really,
Yeah.
when my daughter, so I'm not sure if you were here at the beginning, our kids grew up at Boys Town, which
Mhm.
basically means they had lots of foster siblings. And one time my daughter was in the throes, she's very dramatic, of, I hate having hearing aids. I'm the only one who has hearing aids. I'm so different. And we had 6 teenage girls who lived with us. And I said, why don't you go ask each one of the girls what makes them different? And so she did, and what makes you different? What makes you different? And we had a girl from Sudan who lived with us. And so she had very, very dark skin. And she said,
Mhm.
well, I never liked how dark I was. I was so much darker than everyone else. And Maisie looked at her and said, okay, fine. You could have just said you've never felt like this before. Because she
Sure.
just didn't think that that was an acceptable answer. But I think it was huge for her in her little self. She was probably 6-ish
Mm-hmm.
to go, well, I love every one of these girls. And I don't think there's anything wrong with any of these girls. And yet every single one of them said, well, I didn't like that, I have this tooth that's fake. So it comes out all the time. I don't like that this or this or this. For her to know she's not the only one who feels that way.
Yeah. No, I like that.
And then just acknowledging that, yeah, it can be kind of lonely to feel different.
Right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yep. So meet him where he's at,
Yeah.
which can be
I-
Yeah, I
pretty
know.
hard.
I think the part they should tell you at the Eddie, or not, it's not Eddie, or whatever, I don't know, CDC, I don't know, what do we call
Yep.
it now? You should say the hard part is when they turn 7 and they get all emotional on you.
Mhm.
Oh
Mhm.
man, the easy part was the little guy. Now it's like we've got all these big emotions, and I'm like, holy moly.
It
Wait till the
is.
teenage years.
I know.
Yes.
I'm
Wendy,
glad
I
keep
love
getting told
them.
that.
I like hold my breath until my kids get to be teenagers. It's like that 13th birthday. I'm like, oh, we made it. We survived. Life is good again.
Oh, that's
Ashley,
awesome.
This.
I love teenagers.
Wait till
Oh,
they're an adult.
Yeah,
When they're
no.
out of the house, it's even harder.
oh,
I believe
man.
that, Kim.
Yes,
Problem-
yes.
Problems come bigger.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Their problems get harder to solve. The
Yeah.
older they get.
For
And-
sure.
And Ashley, I think it's so hard because Hunter is such a sweet, gentle giant. I mean,
Yes.
he's this lovable little kid who's very big. I mean,
Yes.
he's just a tall. I mean, he looks
Yes,
taller
I
than
know what you mean.
7. And I mean, he just is like, and you hurt when your kids hurt too.
Yes.
It hurts so much. And
Oh, yes. I've had to this week, the whole bullying thing. And so this kid told him that his mommy was fat and ugly. And he got in the car and, oh, God bless him. He was, Mom, this kid told me my mom was fat and ugly. And he started to cry. And I was like, Hunter, I'm okay. It's fine. And he goes, that's not it. I don't want a fat and ugly mom. And I was like, oh, I don't even know what to say right now. So I kind of was like, well, we'll go in and we're gonna talk to the instructors at the CAP program, and like maybe you and this kid need to stay away. But then kind of like the defining line was that the kid told me wanted to kill him finally. And I was just like, oh, okay. we've got some lines to draw here. So we went in and did that, and his personality has definitely perked up in the last few days, because I was like, they just can't be by each other because obviously it's not working. So it definitely helped. But yeah, he's definitely he's emotional boy, and it's really weird because I don't know what to do with it. But
We always said, so my oldest is 17.
mhm.
And Simon has never gotten over anything, Ashley. He has
Okay.
gotten through everything.
I like
And
that. There you go.
that is his personality. He
Yes.
is a giant. He truly is. He's
Mhm.
always been a big kid. And his heart is as big as his body. Like,
Yeah.
that's just who he is. And he doesn't get over things. He has to get through them. And sometimes it means, especially when he was little like that, it could be months. And all of a sudden he'd say, Mom, do you remember when we were
Yep.
eating spaghetti and you said that I had a messy face and I was a messy eater? Probably. I mean, because it's probably true. That really hurt my feelings. Okay, thanks for letting me know. I'll
Yes,
work
that
harder in the
is,
future.
you just defined my whole life.
Mhm.
Oh,
I have a lot of big family, big feelings in my house, Ashley.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And see, my husband and I are not. It's definitely this whole journey. Just like, what the heck? I'm like, he's
Mhm.
cried about what?
Yeah. Yep. There were definitely times that my husband and I would look at each other and go, is he crying? Like, why are we crying? This does not
Yes.
feel like a crying thing.
Yes. Okay.
And
Oh,
I
that's,
mean, yeah, he doesn't cry as much anymore.
yeah.
And,
Okay.
No.
and he is so sweet and he's such a good kid. And
Yes.
now I can't even think about college because
Yeah.
then I cry. So
Yes. Yep.
Does he graduate this year?
no, but next year. So I feel like I'm like pre-morning, Wendy.
No.
Oh, my last one graduates this year, Betty. Suck it up.
Okay, just keep telling me that. I'm glad you picked up on the empathy of this whole topic.
Yeah, where's that empathy piece, Wendy?
Suck it up, Betsy. It's a
Oh,
reality. There's a reality piece versus an empathy piece.
It's so true with that empathy piece because they just need to have somebody else understand why they're crying or why they're sad or why they're mad.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really, oh, I'm so sorry you're feeling they're having a rough day.
Yeah.
That's like my middle one throws. Well, she's not around, so I could say it's my more challenging child. But when I have empathy with her, things go a lot better.
Nice. For sure.
Yeah, it really is crazy. Just I hear you and I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry. And
Yeah.
kids don't always expect us to fix it. I think we have to fix it, but their expectations of us are actually fairly low.
Yeah.
Just wanted you to hear me say, I don't like when you say that my face is dirty. Okay.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. So you'll survive. I promise. We all did.
Yeah.
And Wendy will be there to tell you to suck it up. I'll say I understand. Kim will say she understands. Wendy will say suck it up.
Suck it up. Well, we can't all give her the same advice, or it would just be boring.
Exactly.
But Ashley, I will say, enjoy every minute, even the drama, because one day I'll be graduating, and you'll be like, I wish I could do this over again, but can't.
That is true. That is true. So yes, and I think what's thrown us for a loop is that we have the one he's so emotional and all these things, and our little one is just oh gosh, he's a firecracker and nothing like Hunter. And so we're dealing with that, and like, I mean, he's already beaten up on his brother and he's won. I'm just like, who are you, and who picked these? Like, who picked these kids for me? They're so drastically different.
We used to say that Simon was like this, like he was a pretty easygoing kid. He's pretty easygoing now.
Yeah.
Maisie was 100% of every emotion she felt. So if she was joyful, you felt like you were standing in the sun. And if she was mad, you thought she might kill you. It might happen. So yeah, I understand.
That's awesome. I think it's just good to hear too, because you like from other people, like that you're gonna make it. It's gonna be fine.
Yep. Well, parenting is so humbling. It's just like, oh boy, it's just humbling. And how you're talking about your boys being different, Ashley, and Betsy and Wendy could probably be right there and say that, yeah, I have 3 kids. I've raised them all in the same household, and they are all 3 very different.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right. Well, you have my